Happy New Year! Hello everyone, I'm Aika. If you've never seen any of my other videos before, hi, nice to meet you. And if you have, welcome back. I know it is already 2024 now, but I thought I would just wrap up 2023. I wanted to do an end of year book tag, and I know I'm kind of late to it. Most people post these in December, but better late than never. It's already January 2nd right now. As of the time I'm filming this, it is 12:30 a.m. I have a lot of energy for someone at 12:30 a.m. But this video is pretty much going to be an end of year book tag slash book Q&A. I just posted a story on my Bookstagram and I just had people ask me questions. I put the little button thing that people could write questions on in response, and so I just said I was going to be doing an end of year book tag and to ask anything that they wanted to ask me on there. All of these questions are responses to a story that I posted, and I did intend for this to be an end of year book tag, but some of these questions are just more general book related questions. I have about 13 questions, and I think they're split pretty 50-50 on like typical end of year book tag type of questions and just the other Q&A type of questions. So the first question is maybe I shouldn't have filmed this at 12:30 a.m. I have to get this done now. I'm going skiing tomorrow morning. I'm so excited, but also another bad reason of why I'm filming at 12:30 a.m. because I have to wake up super early, but we're here. Also, I don't know how I'm gonna like how I look in this video because my hair is like pulled back. I feel like I look like an egg. So first question, a genre that I would like to get more into in 2024. I typically stick to reading romance and like fantasy. That's been my genre. That's where I typically fall into. I would like to get more into dystopian. I've read a couple dystopian books before, but they're just not really what I gravitate towards. I would also really like to start reading historical fictions because I know that there are a lot of great and popular books that are historical fiction or inspired by historical events. I'm assuming that that's what historical fiction is, because historical fiction. But I would like to get into more historical fiction. I think Divine Rivals is considered historical fiction. Is it actually? Okay, yes, I was correct. Divine Rivals is a historical fantasy. So yeah, that's a genre that I would like to get more into. That's some of my most anticipated reads, Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. I intended to read it last year, but just didn't happen. I've been in kind of a reading slump. Just been super busy and haven't had time to read really. And I'm also a Fairyloot rep for this term or quarter. I don't know how they divide it up, but it's for December, January, and February, I'm pretty sure. And I just opened my box. I got the book only box, book only combo box, and I opened the YA book and I was super excited because it is a historical fantasy or a historical fiction. If you are a Fairyloot subscriber and you haven't received your December 2023 box and you have the YA subscription, spoiler warning, the book is What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez, and it sounds so good. It is a historical fantasy and it has rivals to lovers and it's set in Egypt. And when I was younger, I used to be super obsessed with any sort of mythology. I used to be really into it, and I had like this phase when I was younger where I would just watch a bunch of videos on Egyptian mythology. So I'm really excited to see like what the book brings out. I saw a video and someone was like, if you like The Mummy, you're gonna like this book and da-da-da. But yeah, I just think Egyptian mythology is really cool. Another genre that I actually want to get into is horror. So ever since I was young, I've always loved horror stories. I'm not a horror movie gal, but I love reading horror stories, or I even love reading like super detailed plot synopsises of horror movies because I'm just scared to watch it, but I'm not scared to read it. Or I'll watch like an ending explained of like horror movies. I just don't want to watch the movie because it's gonna make me pee my pants. Like back in Indonesia, we had so many horror stories and like spirits that we believed in, like kuntilanak and deruo and jinns, and there's so many of them, like suster, but like a lot of them are fake. But I love the stories that people would tell about it, or like whenever someone was like, oh, like I had this really weird paranormal experience. I love stories like that. And so my mom used to manage this small hotel back when I was younger, and I would go there with her all the time because I was like a baby. I wasn't a baby, I was like 7, but I would walk around to like her employees and I'd be like, do you have any like experiences with, you know, ghosts? Can you tell me any? And like they would just talk to me about it, about like people they know or what they have personally experienced, and I would love it. And I used to also be really into like creepypasta when I was in like 6th grade. My brother-in-law also used to babysit me, and he would play this podcast, and it's a Malaysian podcast, but it's called Radio Misteri Jam 12, and pretty much it's just a bunch of write-ins of creepy and weird paranormal experiences. And I don't know, I guess that's where my love for horror stories started, which is really weird because I still really don't enjoy watching horror movies, but I thought I should bring that over into books, into my love for books. So I'm gonna try to start reading maybe a couple horror novels. If you have any good ones or good recommendations, please let me know. Next is, do you annotate your books and how? I do annotate my books. I wish I had one that was annotated right here with me. Give me 1 second. Let me find something in this room. When I first started annotating my books, I pretty much just started tabbing them without any sort of system. I did end up building a system for it, but I get these clear tabs. This is from before I had my system of annotating, and so it would just be one color that kind of matched the cover, and it would just be one color all throughout. Or if in this case I ran out of one color, so I moved on to the next and the next. But pretty much I just annotate like any of my favorite scenes, any lines that I liked, anything that made me like cry or something like that. I don't know. But I did end up finding a system for it, and I'm gonna show it to you. I got my book tabs from Amazon or Daiso or Dollar Tree. All 3 of those places have pretty good prices for book tabs, and they're like clear so you can still read the books underneath of them. I think the one I get from Amazon is a pack of like 2,400 or 1,200 for $7 or $10, something like that. But here's how I annotate now. In front of every book, I'll put in a post-it note, and depending on the book, what I write on the post-it note would be different, but this will be my little key for the book. And I know that some people like to stick to the same color for every single book. I don't like doing that because I run out of one color faster than the other sometimes, so I think that the post-it note technique just works for me. But I just write down what I want to tab and then the colors that corresponds with it. This is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, so I wrote down important and then funny and sad scenes, some romance, a new place or other, and then what color corresponds with. So whenever I see a purple tab, I know that it is an important plot point that I want to remember. I've also started highlighting and underlining in my books. Sometimes if I'm feeling extra spicy, I'll write in the margins of the book or something like that. I don't do that too often. I think I only did it to a couple books. Next question is, what would I tell someone who wants to start a BookTok? I started my BookTok account in 2021. I think I started it in February or March, and what I have to say is just do it and don't care about what people you might know might think of it if they run across it. I used to be super anxious about this. Maybe it's because I'm out of high school now that I don't really care if like any of like the people that I knew, finds it. But just do it. Don't care about what other people will think. This is something you're passionate about, so they should enjoy it for you. Does that make sense? Also, BookTok is just such a welcoming community. Everyone is always so supportive, especially if you're a new account just starting out. And my best tip to grow on BookTok is definitely to stay consistent and not get discouraged. I would recommend that if you're just starting out, post every single day. And I know that might sound like a lot, but I think that and the fact that you're being consistent with it is the best way to grow your account. But of course you want to do this because this is actually something that you're enjoying. You don't want to be doing it because, oh, I want a ton of followers or anything like that. But you pretty much just need to figure out what works for your account and kind of stick to it and see what the TikTok algorithm likes for your account and like for you to post, and then just keep going with it and make videos that are similar to that. Don't get discouraged or pay too much attention to the numbers, followers, or likes. And I know this is so much easier said than done, but always remember that you started it because you love reading and it's like a community. I always have to remind myself that I run my accounts because I love to read and I like to post about books. And, you know, I like to make videos that other readers can enjoy or resonate or relate with. But I made a deal with myself that the second any of my book-related accounts starts to feel like a job, I would stop doing it because I don't want to start to build resentment for something that I love and that was my kind of escape from the world and like how I wind down and just something that like brought me so much happiness. I never want to like make myself hate that because I'm kind of burnt out because I'm like, oh my god, I need to post a video and whatever. And that actually happened to me last year. I was gonna say last year, but technically it's 2 years ago now because last year would be 2023 and it's already 2024 now. It happened to me in 2022. I just started college. I didn't have time to read. I was just really burnt out and I was like, it's starting to feel like a job. It's not fun anymore. But I pretty much tell myself that the minute it's not fun anymore, that's time to stop. Either take a break or completely stop, play it by ear, but always make sure that you're doing it because you love what you're doing. So, a character from a book I read this year that I'm in love with, Jax. My favorite book husband, Jax. Favorite book couple, Jax and Eva. My favorite book character, Jax. Okay, those Jax answers are partially a joke. I just thought it would be funny if I just kept saying Jax, 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 because I do genuinely love Jax as a character. But yeah, Jax and Eva are my favorite book couple of the year. Another one would actually be Wrath and Amelia from the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. I just finished reading the whole trilogy last year in 2023, and I just really love their relationship. I love how he's protective over her, but he'll still stand back and be like, no, I don't need to do anything. She'll take care of it. She doesn't need me. Her? I don't need to touch you. She'll end you right now because of how powerful she is. She can handle you just fine. Like, I love their relationship because she's just such a badass and he just stands back and lets her be a badass. Like, she doesn't need protecting, and he knows that, and he's fully in support of it. The other question was a favorite book husband. Too many to count. Sorry to my boyfriend. I'm joking. That's a joke. Also, so many people who are not readers think that this is actually serious. Like, when readers are like, oh, this is my book boyfriend, this is my book husband. It's literally a joke. Like, no one's taking it as deeply as you are, random guy on the internet. Like, I've gotten comments from people, especially on Instagram, where they're like, oh, like, you're actually in love with book characters. Like, no, calm down. I literally had someone comment on a reel and was, like, psychoanalyzing me because apparently my reality is distorted because of how much I love books and my videos. And my videos are jokes, and you know, like, they're real to a degree, but like, I know that books aren't my reality. Sometimes I wish they could be because of people like this. But he pretty much was like, your reality is distorted because like, you have a boyfriend, but like, really you're wishing that he was your book boyfriend. It's like, no, I love my boyfriend. He's great. If he wasn't great, I wouldn't be dating him because I'm a reader. I have high standards. Be so for real right now. And then he was like, oh, like, you don't even know like what's real and what's fictional anymore. I was like, calm down. Why are you so invested? I'm some random bitch on the internet. But he also called my boyfriend a beta male because I had this video, and I'll put a screenshot of it up on the screen, but it pretty much just said, rizzed him so hard he'd rather sit there while I read and follow me around the romance section of a bookstore than not see me. And he was like, oh well, like, that's a beta male, and like, you know, like, maybe that's how the males act in your book, but da. And the moment he said that, I stopped being annoyed, or even like, I was bordering on like pissed off, I'm not gonna lie, on his comments, because he just kept going and going for like paragraphs, and that was my first mistake. I should have just not engaged at all. But like, he brought me into this, and before that he was like arguing with other people in that comment section for a week, and then he mentioned me, and I was like, bro, calm down, you don't know me. And he just kept coming after me. But the second he brought up beta, I was like, oh, I know exactly what type of person you are. And now everything is just hilarious to me, because I'm like, there's no reasoning with you, and there's no point in arguing with you, because I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if you're that smart. Sorry, not sorry. Like, I saw that and I just laughed, because I was like, I see where this is coming from. He's just insecure. And I hope that guy finds security within himself soon. Also, like, he called himself a stoic man or whatever. Stoic. I struggle pronouncing words sometimes. English is not my first language. Have some grace on me. But he called himself a stoic man, and he even said this in like the comments, where he was like, no, like, I practice stoicism and like I embody it, and like his profile even said that he was a stoic minded person. And I was like, doesn't this like go against the practices and the philosophy of stoicism? Doesn't the philosophy of it mean only to focus on things within your control? So why are you arguing with some random girl on the internet about her life? He doesn't even know me. But I don't know, the whole conversation with him just was not very stoic of him, you know? I don't know, this guy just really annoyed me. I know I said that, like, I stopped being annoyed and I just laughed, and I did. But it's still just like, yeah, I'm going off on a tangent. Anyways, some of my favorite guys in books would definitely have to be Carden and Jax. They're on top for sure, and they're always the answer that pops into my head. And I didn't read The Cruel Prince this year. I read it in 2021, but I did read Once Upon a Broken Heart for the third time in 2023. Second and third time in 2023. So Jax has to count, right? And another just favorite character in general from this year, I'm gonna say, would be Lara from the Bridge Kingdom duology. She's the main character, and I just think she's a badass. She's a great warrior, and like, she went through like all this to be trained to be a spy. I just think she's cool. And like, she seduced the king in a way, because that was her mission. Yeah, I really like her. Okay, a book I thought I would love but I hated. I have one of these books here. I'm gonna grab it. The first book would be 1,000 Heartbeats by Kiera Cass, and this hurts me to say because the Selection series is my comfort series. And, you know, I just really wish that I could like this book, but I really didn't. I think I got to about halfway through with this book. I don't even have the bookmark in here anymore, and I DNF'd it. I have never DNF'd a book until 2023. Also, it wasn't a great reading year for me, but regardless, never DNF'd a book until 2023, and I think this was one of the first ones that I DNF'd. Like, I don't know, I absolutely loved the Selection. I think I must have read all 5, not just the original 3, all 5 of those books at least 5 times. The original 3 probably more than that. This book was just such a letdown, and I really wanted to love it. Like, on the release day, I remember I had work. I was working as a hostess at the time, and we could read during work sometimes, and we had a Barnes & Noble at the shopping center, so my shift started at 11. Right before my shift started, I ran into Barnes & Noble because this was releasing that day. I picked this book up and I just started it immediately when I was at work. And it just, no, I couldn't get into it. It was insta-love, and I don't know if I just grew out of the way she wrote things or if it's just this book. I couldn't get into it. I was pretty far into it, okay? I was like halfway through. I just didn't like it. I really didn't. It was really boring in my opinion. And if you love this book, then good for you. It wasn't for me. And like, I have no desire of giving this book another try, no matter how much I love Kiera Cass. Like, I read The Betrothed, The Betrayed. I didn't really love The Betrothed, but I did like The Betrayed more. And I read The Siren, like in addition to like the selection books, right? Like, some people say that it's enemies to lovers, but I don't count it as enemies to lovers if it's insta-love. I don't. It doesn't make sense for me for an enemies to lovers to be insta-love, and this is insta-love, and I don't like insta-love. Can you tell I don't like insta-love? Like, I also just didn't really like the main character that much, nor was I really interested in like the world or the concept of it. Actually, when I continued reading it, I actually was just like, eh. Oh, I have this next one down here as well. This is the next book. It is You've Reached Sam by Dustin Tao. I think that's better. That's a better pronunciation, I think. But it's You've Reached Sam by Dustin Tao, and I got through a good chunk of this book. I'm over halfway through it, and again, I just couldn't get into it. And, you know, I like to read books that make me cry sometimes. Sometimes I'm just in a mood for a good cry. So I thought, what book has made people sob? And I was like, oh my god, You've Reached Sam. You know, let's get it. Let's give it a try. And I was really expecting to love this book. And I just didn't. And I couldn't get into it. I got kind of bored. I think the beginning of it was good for me to read. Like, I kept reading it. And then after I was just kind of like, meh. I just couldn't continue and I couldn't pick it up. And usually you could also kind of tell how much I like a book by how many tabs I put in it, because I tab every book that I read now. There's barely any in there. There's like 4 of them. Usually when I am 200 pages into a book, there is at least 10, okay? And I think it is such an interesting concept. I just got bored reading it. And so many people rate this book highly. It's just not for me. Okay, I don't have this next book, but it is The Mistake by Elle Kennedy. And I was really expecting to love this because I loved the first book, which was The Deal. I really, really liked it. I was kicking my feet, I was giggling, and I was expecting that with The Mistake, but I really just didn't care for it. Like, I think I made it to halfway through. So you can't say that I didn't give it a fair chance, because I did. I think halfway through is more than a fair chance, okay? And then I just got bored. I was like, what else could happen in this book? I mean, it's not like a fantasy book. Nothing like super like crazy is gonna happen. I can't even remember the main characters' names from this book. But like, it's a college girl and a college hockey player. How much could happen after halfway through the book? It just lost me after like the first quarter or the first third of the book, and then I just never picked it back up because I tried to and I would read like a page or two and then I would just be like, nope, I'm putting it down. Next is a book I thought I would hate, but I ended up loving, from 2023. And I have a couple of these, but I do think that the words loved and hate are pretty extreme. These are just books that I thought I would not enjoy, and then I did end up liking it. So the first one is actually Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I thought that I wouldn't be able to stand this book. I kind of just listened to the audiobook for fun because I was curious. Like, I'm not too into the age gap thing. I was just kind of like, let's try it out. And I actually ended up enjoying it. I liked the book. Besides the fact that she's 19, that will never not be disturbing to me because she is my age. Actually, she's younger than me because she just turned 19 and she's dating her boyfriend's dad, who's 38. She's 19 and dating a 38-year-old. Freshly 19. I am almost 20, and I couldn't imagine myself dating a 38-year-old. Just the idea of it is just, ugh. Maybe it's because I have siblings who are that age. Like, if I imagine it, it would be like me dating my brother's best friend or something like that. That's just weird. Besides her age, I enjoyed it. I kind of just gaslit myself into thinking that she wasn't 19, but she was instead like 24. I thought that was more acceptable. Not even in like an age gap sort of sense, but kind of just a maturity and life experience standpoint. Even at 24, like you're fresh out of college, you don't have that much life experience, but it's better than 19. You're fresh out of high school. I think I rated it like 3.5 stars. So it was pretty like average book, but I didn't hate it like I thought I would. And you know, if you like Birthday Girl, then great for you. It's just, I don't know, I couldn't get past that, but I did think that I wouldn't like it, and I did end up liking it a lot more than I thought I would. Next is The Traitor Queen by Danielle L. Jensen, and I actually really loved this book, but I thought that I wouldn't like it because I didn't really care for The Bridge Kingdom. The first book, I think I only rated like 3.5 stars because I just thought it was slow and I was kind of bored reading it. Maybe it was because I was in a reading slump, so maybe I didn't give The Bridge Kingdom a fair chance, but I really liked the second book. I kind of just picked it up out of nowhere. I was like, I already read the first book, I may as well continue along in the duology. But I really loved this book. It was fast-paced, it was action-packed, and I was super invested in Aaron and Lara's relationship in this book. Another one is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, and I thought I wouldn't like it just because it's not the type of book I usually read. I actually read this for an assignment for my Anthropology of Religion, Magic, and Witchcraft class last semester, and I actually enjoyed reading it. The whole story is pretty much about the main character, Siddhartha, as he tries to kind of find himself and find who he is. It's just about a person's life journey, pretty much. Okay, a book I regret reading. It's gonna be Birch by the Krampus by Siggy Shade. I don't think there is any other answer to this question except for that one. I pretty much read it because I thought that it would be a funny idea for a reading vlog, so I did do it. The reading vlog is like my first video on this channel, and it was a scarring experience. Like, I thought it would be funny for me to do, but like I'm definitely not the target audience for this book because I'm not into monster romance or paranormal romance, but other than that, I just thought it was disturbing. Some of the things in this book was so wild. And like I just couldn't make it seem like attractive in my head because obviously it's like a smutty book, and it just, up here, it just didn't, no. How do I put this into like proper, like okay terms? While he is going down on her, his tongue splits into two and pretty much just fills up her whole like insides in that area, you know, and she was like, it feels so full, and he was like, well, yeah, I'm preparing you to take my thing, you know, which is shaped like an upside down stocking, and it shoots out eggnog. Also, he's like furry, and he has fangs, and he has horns, and he looks like Krampus, but he somehow has abs. No. Also, this book just made me cringe. It was insta-love, and I just thought some of the dialogue was cringy, and like the writing just was not it. Overall, I miss the person that I was before I read this book. But again, if you love the book or if you like monster romances, please just keep doing you. I don't mean like any judgment by it. It's just like, to me, that's how I perceived it, and it's just not for me, and I know that. I mean, if you like it, then that's awesome for you. It's just not something that I would find myself picking up again willingly or like for funsies, you know? Oh, here's more of a general question. What book got me into reading? So the Selection series was actually the first series I read, and I read it back in 8th grade. And this book had me in the palm of its hands. Like, I absolutely loved this book, and I think I said earlier I probably read it like 5 times. But yeah, this was the first book that I kind of fell in love with. pretty much. I've read like other books before that, obviously, but this one was the one that was like, oh my god, I love this book. But it wasn't the book that turned me into a reader. The book that turned me into a reader was actually Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. And oh my god, Victoria Aveyard commented on one of my posts and I pretty much responded back. I was like, ain't no way the author of the book that turned me into a reader just commented on my video. And she responded to that and she was like, thankful to be your gateway drug or something like that. And I just about died in that moment. But after finishing Red Queen was pretty much when I picked up all of the other BookTok books. At that point when I read Red Queen, that was when I was a sophomore, I think, either a sophomore or a junior in high school. But after that was when I pretty much got onto BookTok and I started reading all of the other BookTok books like ACOTAR, Kingdom of the Wicked, The Cruel Prince, Song of Achilles, stuff like that. What book do I wish I could read for the first time again? Red Queen in the selection, obviously, just because they hold such a special place in my heart. Also, ACOTAR, the first 3 books especially, that was the first time I felt so attached to characters and kind of a fictional world. I just remember it was still during quarantine when I read it, and I was like consumed by the series. I don't know what type of crack was in it, but I was eating it up. Like, I couldn't stop thinking about it. That's how bad it was. Not bad, okay? That's not the right word for it. But that's how much I loved it. Like, I would wake up, the first thing I thought of was, oh my god, what happens next in ACOTAR? So like during this time it was like, wake up, read. Online classes? Oh, probably reading during them. After classes, reading ACOTAR. Before bed, I was probably in her room reading ACOTAR too. That attachment to the book was just something else. Also, another one is probably Fourth Wing because I think that's the closest that I've gotten to that ACOTAR feeling that a book has given me. And this doesn't mean that I haven't like loved any other books after that. I do, but I don't know why. Like, those books just gave me some sort of feeling that I just... Okay, here is the last question, and it is favorite quotes. And we're talking about quotes in general, then I have to mention, obviously, Cardan's letters from The Cruel Prince. And you can only see the letters if you have the Barnes & Noble's exclusive edition of The Wicked King, I think. But you can definitely just search them up online, and... He just has such a way with words. But some other ones from books that I read in 2023, I always talk about this quote, and I always talk about The Ballad of Never After because I absolutely love the book and it's probably my favorite book. But there's a scene and then Jax goes, in the morning you can forget it. You can go back to pretending you don't like me and I can pretend that I don't care. But for tonight, let me pretend you're mine. Something in that particular quote just really pulls at my heartstrings. Okay, and I have a few from The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which was one of my favorite reads of the year. Very good books, but pretty much for context, it is an enemies to lovers, I'm supposed to kill you type of book because they are in this kind of deadly competition where they have to kill everyone else to be the winner. But at one point, she asks him if him dying would be worth it, and he says to her, to die rather than killing you? Yes, that would have been worth it. Even I had to draw the line somewhere, and you're the line, Oriah. God, I love fictional men. And then here's another one. I'd spend a lifetime at the tip of your blade, and it would have been worth it. And this one too, and I love this one because it shows how down bad Rain is for Oriah, but he said, let me make you the queen that you are. Let me guard your body, your soul, your heart. Let me spend the rest of my fucking pathetic life at your mercy. If I need to die, then let me do it by your hand. Please. And keep in mind, while he's begging like this, they're like going at it, if you catch my drift. And then I know I always talk about The Ballad of Never After, so here are a couple quotes from A Curse for True Love, which is the last installment in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. The first one is, And yet in that moment, Evangeline knew he would carry her through more than just freezing waters. He would pull her through fire if he had to, haul her from the clutches of war, from falling cities and breaking worlds. And Jax would do that for her. He would. And then let's finish off this video with a happy one, a wholesome one, and it is, her memories didn't feel so much like her past as they felt like their story. The story of Evangeline and Jax, and it was a beautiful story, her new favorite story. But that is going to conclude my end of year book tag / this book Q&A type of video. I'm wishing everyone only the best for this new year. I hope everyone and their loved ones have a very happy and healthy and just overall amazing 2024 ahead of you. And yeah, that's gonna be this video. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!